Coming up, 12,000 jobs at risk as Wilko goes under. The 93-year-old high street firm has gone into administration. The Hawaii wildfires, at least 36 have now died. And how Taylor Swift became a touring bonanza. High street chain Wilko goes into administration, putting 12,000 jobs at risk. Desperate attempts to save the business have failed. 400 shops could now close.
Wilko's is quite handy. Yeah, you get all your little bits and bobs from there. You know, I think it's a shame, really.
I feel sorry for the people that work here, you know.
Also this lunchtime, Hawaii in flames. At least 36 people are dead after wildfires tear through the island of Maui.
It took 3 minutes till it was engulfed in our house, and it was a quarter mile away from our house when I saw the flame.
A new low and a record high. 7.6 million people in England are now waiting for treatment on the NHS. And the Taylor Swift bonanza as she closes her US tour.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Yasmin Bodalbhai.
Hello, good afternoon. Bosses at Wilko say they left no stone unturned but have failed to secure the future of the homeware chain. 12,000 jobs are now at risk. Staff at its 400 stores across the UK have been told today that there is no rescue deal and it is going into administration. Sam Holder now on another retailer close to collapse.
After 93 years on British high streets, is this the end for Wilko? The homeware chain is entering administration, putting thousands of jobs in jeopardy. Outside this Manchester store, the reaction from shoppers, disappointment.
Wilko's is quite handy. Yeah, you get all your little bits and bobs from there. You know, I think it's a shame, really.
I feel sorry for the people that work here, you know, at the end of the day, because there's not many jobs round here.
The family-owned budget retailer currently has more than 400 stores in the UK, and the news today puts 12,000 jobs at risk. Last year, Wilko made a loss of £36 million, which is more than the company made over the previous 4 years. Its former CEO says part of the problem was how much the company was charging.
The business was moving away from that very focused approach of low cost, low price, high volume, was trying to move up market.
The GMB union says some employees were in tears this morning.
I think the saddest thing about all of this is that it was entirely avoidable if the relevant changes to the business had been made. And only last year we saw £3 million in dividends paid out to the Wilkinson family, money that really badly needed to be invested.
The company had been given 10 days to rescue itself and find a buyer before administrators stepped in. Wilko's chief executive said, "We needed to make significant changes to the way we operate to restore confidence and stabilise. We left no stone unturned when it came to preserving this incredible business." There is still a chance for the Wilko name to be saved if some of the stores or part of the business is bought. If not, yet another famous brand faces disappearing from our high streets. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Well, our North of England reporter Kelly Foran is at a Wilko's in Manchester. Kelly, thousands of jobs hanging in the balance. What hope is there for a rescue here?
Well, hopes of a rescue are slim, it would appear, but they're not over entirely yet. Talks have been ongoing for weeks, but any takeover deals have failed, and that's what's led us to today and to 12,000 people being told their jobs are at risk. It's an incredibly nerve-wracking time for those people because whether or not they'll have a job in the future is entirely out of their hands. I was just chatting to somebody here on the high street who says they feel so sorry for the staff because with other high street stores also closing, what they will do next is a real worry. Now, the administrators have told us in the last few moments that there will be no immediate redundancies. And what they're planning to do next is look for a buyer for at least part of this business. This is a business that pitches itself as a bargain store. They sell pretty much everything from pencil cases to plants, but if somebody does take over part of that business, it could look very, very different. Now, this is one of 400 Wilko stores in the country. It's in Withenshaw Town Centre, a similar location to many others, but it means it's next door to pretty much stores that sell the same or similar products for cheaper. You can tell by the building it's a big store. If it closes, it will physically leave a huge dent in the high street.
Kelly Foran in Manchester, thank you very much. What have been described as apocalyptic wildfires fanned by a distant hurricane have killed at least 36 people and injured dozens on the Hawaiian island of Maui. This satellite image was taken just 2 months ago and shows the tourist hub of Lahaina. This image was taken today. Many significant historical sites have been reduced to ash. Now, Maui is the second or largest of its islands and lies just over 100 miles east of the capital, Honolulu. In desperate scenes, people jumped into the sea to flee the flames. Graham Stothard has the latest.
On an island known for being a tropical paradise, smoke, ash, scorched earth stretching on for mile after mile. The aftermath of a fire whipped up by powerful winds, incinerating nearly everything in its path. The once thriving tourist area of Lahaina on Maui's west coast, almost completely destroyed.
It took when I saw the fire, it took 3 minutes till it was engulfed in our house, and it was a quarter mile away from our house when I saw the flames, and it engulfed our house. So if anything, just do everything you can to secure what you have. You can rebuild all the other stuff, but make sure animals and everything is good.
We lost a dog and a cat, and I think that's what she's upset about the most. And we just rescued them from the pound the other day.
We're done.
As fires raged through the night, many were pushed towards the coast, forced into the sea to await rescue. Coast guards helped by tourist boat operators using dinghies, even surfboards, to reach them in shallow waters.
At one point, there was 100 people that had tried to escape the fire by running into the ocean. When we got there, there was approximately 50 in a location that we were trying to evacuate them from. And it was very difficult because our boats can't go in as shallow as it was. And the people were stuck on the beach and they couldn't, they don't want to swim out into the blackness through a cloud of smoke.
It's not yet known what caused the fire, only that a potent mix of weather conditions hastened its spread.
So you got dry fuel, trees, plants, you got low humidity and high winds. There are reports of gusts of up to 85 miles per hour. So, that is so fast, and that's why we couldn't provide the helicopters to do the water bucket support.
Thousands of people have evacuated the area. Hundreds of buildings have been destroyed. Dozens are dead. And the fire is still burning. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
And closer to home, up to 4,000 people have now been evacuated from their homes in Norway because of a severe summer storm. Storm Hans swept through Scandinavia earlier this week, triggering landslides and damaging infrastructure. Southern and eastern Norway were badly affected. Now, the number of people waiting for routine hospital treatment in England has risen again to a new record high of 7.6 million. The Prime Minister pledged in January that lists will fall and announced it was one of his top priorities. Well, in better news for him and, of course, patients, ambulance response times have improved. Let's get more on this from our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan, in Westminster. And Carl, can you just take us through the numbers that are out today?
Well, the most important one is the one you mentioned. That is that the number of people waiting for routine hospital treatment has gone up from 7.5 million to 7.6 million. Now, that is important, not just because the Prime Minister said that he would bring it down, and he hasn't. It's going up. It's also a staggeringly large number of people. It's 1 in 8 people in England. So that is a problem. Beneath that, there are signs of some improvement, some reasons for cheer. For example, the extra long waits of more than 18 months have almost disappeared. Waits in accident and emergency are coming down a bit. And take a look at these ambulance waiting times in England. Last month, the average wait for a life-threatening call was 8 minutes and 21 seconds. That is an improvement on the month before, but important to note, it's still above the 7-minute target. For emergencies like heart attacks, strokes and sepsis, the average wait was nearly 32 minutes. That is also an improvement on the month before, albeit still well above the 18-minute target. So some things are going in the right direction, but the main one, the main waiting list target, is not. NHS experts say that although industrial action is a significant factor in that, it isn't the main reason for there being waiting lists in the first place.
The industrial action is having a hugely significant impact on waits for care. You know, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of hospital appointments either being disrupted or being cancelled. So it clearly is the biggest issue at the moment affecting the NHS. But fundamentally, it's not the reason why NHS waiting lists are where they are. NHS waiting lists were getting worse and targets were being missed far, far before the COVID-19 pandemic and far, far before industrial action.
So although those waiting lists have been there for a long time, I think the Prime Minister can blame them for the waiting list continuing to go up. The problem is that many people blame him for the industrial action in the first place. And if he can't deal with that, it will make it a great deal more difficult for him to get the waiting list down below the 7.2 million, which is where they were at when he made the promise in January.
Carl Dinnan, thank you very much. Still to come, why campaigners want VAT on period pants scrapped. And as she closes her US tour, how Taylor's been boosting bank balances. First, though, when P&O Ferries fired hundreds of staff last year without notice, its chief executive later admitted the company had broken the law. At the time, a government minister said the firm had acted like pirates of the high sea and suggested the company and its owner, DP World, could lose business from the taxpayer because of what he called its disgraceful behaviour. But ITV News has now learnt that the government has since spent £250 million with these companies. Labour has accused the government of being weak. Our business editor Joel Hills has been investigating and joins me now from Dover. Joel, what have you found out?
Well, it's peak summer season here at Port of Dover. P&O Ferries operates 4 ships from here using agency crew that are flown in from countries like Indonesia and India and are paid around £5.50 an hour for their work. That's around half the level of the UK national minimum wage. P&O, of course, had 800 crew members of its own, full-time staff. It sacked them abruptly last March without notice or consultation. In doing so, P&O admitted it broke the law and was widely condemned. One of its fiercest critics, you may remember, was the government. But the government has been spending quite a lot of money with P&O Ferries and its owner DP World in the last 18 months. Written parliamentary questions submitted by the Labour MP Louise Hay have revealed that British International Investment, which operates as part of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, has paid £230 million to DP World for work on 3 ports in Senegal, Egypt and Somaliland. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defence has spent almost £600,000 with P&O Ferries for movements of freight and business travel. You may recall last year the then Transport Secretary Grant Shapps suggested P&O and DP World would suffer financially as a result of their actions, which he calls shameful. But the taxpayer is still one of their customers.
And what's the government had to say, Joel?
Well, this morning the government says it's reviewed all the contracts with P&O and DP World and only uses them when there is no other alternative. A contract with the Home Office has been cancelled. The government says DP World is a huge multinational company. Its involvement with the ports projects was therefore unavoidable. Earlier this year, the government also approved DP World for their involvement in the Thames Gateway Freeport project, which is set to receive £25 million of government support via local authorities. The government insists it has reacted swiftly and decisively against P&O Ferry's appalling treatment of its staff.
Joel, thank you very much. Hundreds of police officers have contacted their managers fearing for their safety after what's been described as a monumental data breach when the personal details of every member of staff of the Police Service of Northern Ireland was mistakenly published online. UTV correspondent Sarah Clark is in Belfast, where an emergency meeting's been taking place. Sarah, what's the latest?
Well, the Chief Constable, Simon Byrne, cut short his holiday to return home for this emergency meeting, which has been going on behind me here at Policing Board headquarters in Belfast for the last number of hours. It has gone on longer than expected. He's been addressing how this colossal data breach could have happened in the first place, what measures are being put in place to ensure it doesn't happen again, and whose personal security has been compromised as a result of this breach. Now, he's also facing questions about a second data breach, this time a stolen laptop which contained the names of 200 serving police officers, and that emerged yesterday, so smaller in scale but deeply concerning. On his way into the building, he did address a question on the tenability of his position, and he said, "I'll deal with that later."
And Sarah, there's no doubt that this is a staggering breach of confidentiality.
Yes, and I think what we have to remember that this is in Northern Ireland, where the terror threat from dissident Republicans has been raised to severe, and that happened back in March when the attempted murder occurred of DCI John Caldwell, who was shot in front of his young son following football training. There's of course the financial repercussions of this, running into millions of pounds, and of course the reputational damage to the PSNI and how to restore trust and confidence in not only the staff, public and beyond.
Sarah Clark, thank you very much. Now, dozens of MPs, as well as retailers and charities, are urging the government to remove the VAT on period pants. The reusable underwear is designed to be worn as an alternative to using tampons and sanitary towels. Well, I'm joined by our reporter, Carrie Davies. Carrie, just tell us what the campaign is all about.
Sure. Well, since 2021, menstrual products like tampons and pads have been exempt from VAT. The arguments back then in that campaign was that having a period isn't a luxury, and so people who do have them shouldn't be taxed for making it more comfortable and more sanitary. Now, there's a new drive to apply the same rules to these reusable period pants. They are currently classified as clothing, taxed at 20%, so potentially a significant saving. There's the argument that people are being put off from using what could be a more sustainable and, in the long run, cheaper product because of the upfront cost. We've spoken to one user who thinks the tax is really unfair.
When I discovered period pants, I was like, oh my God, I wish I'd had these when I was younger. So I think they're a lot less intimidating. They're super convenient and comfortable. And then there's obviously all the environmental benefits, and you can reuse them. And so there's so many benefits to them. And then so them being taxed as garments is kind of like they're not seeing the bigger picture of them.
So who's backing all this?
Well, major retailers like Marks and Spencer's and Ocado, charities like the Marine Conservation Society, and MPs from different parties. There's also a petition, when I last checked a few minutes ago, has got more than 7,500 signatures. We spoke to a director at M&S and she thinks this is an easy fix.
The government did a really great job in 2021, and the whole purpose was, you know, don't charge a tax on something that women need, and they just left this out. So we want to see if we can make that a bit fairer for everyone. And as I say, we're just lending our voice to something that other people have been wanting to campaign on. And I think when you've got a real cross-party group of MPs really supportive, you think, oh, we're probably onto something here. So we think this is a no-brainer.
Well, tax relief currently excludes clothing. It's understood that that's to make it easier to police, but the application of VAT is reviewed all the time. The Treasury hasn't responded directly to this request to scrap the tax on period pants, but they have said that they are committed to making period products more affordable.
OK, so we'll see what happens. Carrie, thank you very much. And finally, it's a wrap. The American leg of Taylor Swift's epic Eras tour is over. And what a tour it's been. Not just for her bank balance, but for the cities she's performed at, with restaurants and hotels all getting a much-needed financial boost. Sharon Thomas now on the Swift effect.
You might have noticed there are some new outfits in the show. There's some new stuff.
When Taylor speaks, the world listens. This was the last night of the US leg of her phenomenally successful Eras tour.
And I think instead of just like telling you about it, I think I'll just sort of show you something.
The singer surprised fans by announcing the release date of her re-recorded 5th studio album, 1989.
When Ticketmaster dropped like random tickets, I had just woken up and I got the text and I was like, oh my god,
It was 2 weeks ago.
And then, yeah, literally 2 weeks ago. So we were like dying, and then we did not think we were gonna get them, and we were so happy.
I don't want to miss any show of Taylor because I was a Swiftie since I was 15 and now I'm 28 years old.
The 33-year-old global superstar is, according to some reports, likely to be a billionaire by the time she hits 40. She's a mega money spinner for LA too. Swift's 6 nights at the SoFi Stadium in California has made seriously big bucks for the local economy.
Ticket income alone is going to generate around 15 million. That's not including the resale market. Merchandise, including hotel, bars, restaurants, the transit services that are going to come into play for this, the labor that's required, the police protection.
The 12-time Grammy winner will now take a break before touring internationally, including 3 nights at Edinburgh's Murrayfield Stadium next June. Better start saving. It's £200 a ticket. Sharon Thomas, ITV News.
Start saving now. That's it this lunchtime. The latest Where You Are is next. Lucrezia's here with the evening news at 6:30. But for now, from everyone on the Lunchtime team, goodbye.
The warm weather continues. So why not squeeze the most out of the day? Heinz Tomato Ketchup sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good afternoon to you. A stunning summer's day out there, feeling so much warmer than it has been of late. Sunny skies for the vast majority, lifting temperatures a fair few degrees. And for a while, we keep the milder nights too. This is the earlier satellite and radar picture. The best of the unbroken blue sky and stunning, strong August sunshine through England and Wales, parts of northern Scotland, a little more cloud for central eastern Scotland, northeastern England, Irish Sea coastal counties and Northern Ireland. But even so, with the cloud, those temperatures doing way better than recent weeks. Highs of 27 or 28 degrees or more in sheltered eastern spots through the afternoon. Even with the cloud cover, there'll be some sunshine at some point or another today. A bit of a breeze further west and a few rogue showers before the end of the day, but otherwise a lovely summer's evening. Some late and low sunshine before dusk. Through the night, this area of rain rolls its way northwards and eastwards, some of it thundery, and a notably mild night, quite muggy for sleeping in places.
Heinz Tomato Ketchup sponsors ITV National Weather.